What's up, moviegoers and true believers? Welcome to another episode of the Real Comics Podcast. I'm your host, Voodoo57, and with me, as always, is my good friend, SpeedyG33. Hey, buddy, what's going on tonight?
Hey, what's happening? Up late again.
Another Wednesday podcast, and here we go. We got lots to talk about this evening. We're going to start you off, as we always do, with a little bit of news, and then we are going to get into some serious talk about season 6 of The Walking Dead. And we're going to tell you right now, there will be spoilers. If you haven't seen episode 1 of season 6 all the way through the finale, please be warned. We're going to talk about several moments during this season. And if you haven't seen it, you may want to tune out for a few minutes, but you are going to want to hear our review on the finale. All right?
If you haven't seen it, why are you watching us? Go watch it.
Good point. If you haven't seen these episodes, go check them out. Walking Dead, one of my favorite shows of all time. All right, but as we always do, let's get started with some news on what's trending and topics in the world of movies and or comic book movies, either or, anything that's hip and happening. SpeedyG33, what's the first one you want to hit us with?
Oh, gosh, there's been so much. It's been a busy week. We've got lots of footage left and right, pictures from sets. Everything's going on. You know, Civil War is definitely around the corner. You can feel it now. We're getting more and more footage. A picture of Black Panther doing this, a picture of Bucky doing that, a picture of, you know, everything. And then we're going to get that trailer on the MTV Awards coming up. Yeah, it's about time for me to tune out on the Civil War stuff. You know,
yeah, I think it's
DVR my shows and don't watch commercials because they're about to start giving crap away. They're hitting that point where it's going to be oversaturation.
Yep, the lockdown is about to commence when it comes to Civil War. Something that ties into yours, I was reading today, there's this rumor going around, I'm not sure kind of how to take it. There is a cast member for Civil War who will also be appearing in the Netflix Luke Cage series. People are wondering, is there a tie-in? What are your thoughts on this idea?
Well, I've read that they said that they're different characters. So there's one of two things
to
take by that. Either they're swerving us, and it's not two different characters, the same character, or the way that it sounds like the timeline of real life, she was cast, and it's a bit role in the movie, a very small role. So this small role that she has in the movie, she was cast for, and then the project came along to do Luke Cage, which is a bigger role, and she was the right actress for it, and they said, we're going to cast her anyway. Does it mean that they're not connected? Probably. I've been saying that for a while. As soon as Charlie Cox came out and said that, hey, it'd be great if they cast somebody as Daredevil for Infinity War, so Daredevil will be in there. I think that was a backhanded way of him saying, they're not going to use us, but don't not use the character.
No, I totally agree. I agree. I'm totally with you right there. I honestly think that this is a bit of a swerve. People have picked up on it. Maybe another way to generate just a little bit more buzz. Not like there's not any already for this movie. Of course, you know it was my top movie that I'm looking forward to for 2016. So, yeah.
You know, there's been some recasts though. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. There's been a few people that have played more than one part in the movies. There's somebody, God, there's a woman in what's the actress's name? She is in Captain America, and she's, I think, in Iron Man. I believe she's in 2 things or something. Okay, who is the woman that who's the actress that hits on Captain America, you know, in the first movie, Captain America?
I remember. It was a big deal.
Actress in more than one thing, playing different roles, and that's just one example. I think there's like.
So where did she return then? I know who you're talking about. I wish I could remember.
I don't have the actress's name, and
I know, but
I knew you were going to talk about this. I would have known off the top of my head. Give me 1 second to do a quick splash on the old Goog.
Well, if you got a splash, then splash, man.
Let's see, Captain America. Go ahead and talk about something else while I dig this up.
No, wait. See, look, this is what we do, all right? You know what I mean? Doesn't always have to be planned out. Sometimes things just get riffed in there.
And I don't know her name, because if you'd asked me any other day, I would probably know her.
I know exactly who you're talking about. I'm just trying to remember where she was recast. That's what I'm trying to get. Where was she recasted?
I'm trying to find out. Let's see. Well, no, I can't find her, man. Because it's a bit role on her part.
She only gives him a smooch, right? Is that who you're talking about? In the first Captain America?
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Well. I'll find it another time. And someone could probably, maybe someone's watching and they could tweet us or send something, one of our tweets, and let us know.
That would be awesome.
We're fumbling around.
Or we'll post it in the comments, because I want to get this settled, because you know what? I'm not going to be able to go to sleep now, because I'm one of those guys.
Yeah.
I'm going to need to know the answer by the end of this thing. So very cool. All right, I'm going to touch on a quick subject. Sticking with Marvel, I want to get your opinions, because I thought they were great. And then, of course, as the internet likes to do, there was an amazing few gifts that came out to accompany these new photos from the set of Doctor Strange in full gear, prancing down the street. I don't know what's going on, but the gifts were amazing. They were just doing this little super hot.
Maybe they're flying or something, you know, kind of that spiritual thing. It has that feel of your old like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon kind of thing.
Right.
Through the air, kind of.
So what did you think of all those photos? I mean,
he looks
the outfits,
great.
Everybody looks great in this.
And did you see that someone, you know, he went to a comic book shop, and
I was going to bring that up next.
But someone zoomed in on his fingers holding the comics. He takes a picture holding a comic, and his fingers have like these scars all over him. So those are his scars from how his hands are injured, which leads him, you know, eventually, if anyone doesn't know the story, he's a surgeon that has his hands damaged, and he can no longer be a surgeon. So that's kind of neat. We know that's going to be in there in some form or fashion. So they're going to do his origin.
I love that. See, I would rather have little things like that are attention to detail that come out on the internet than some kind of spoiler of exactly what the plot is. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Those kinds of things are just amazing to me, that they would put those on his hand.
Is those are on his hands, and he's filming an action scene where they're probably not going to be on his hands too much.
Right.
You know, but still, his makeup is completely done up in a way that he still has those scars on his hands.
Well, if you ask me, it serves one of two purposes. First one is maybe they're going to do a scene later where he'll just change costuming and his hands might be involved.
True.
Two, they know we're savvy. We pay attention to every little thing. And we're going to be talking about that a little later when we get into The Walking Dead. I mean, every little detail. We are movie savvy nowadays, almost too movie savvy, seriously. So that's very cool. All right, man, what do you got next up on the plate from you?
One more quick one. Oh, man, they're talking about developing The Boys for Cinemax. That is a Dark comic book. Mm-hmm. You know, we have Preacher coming out, which I never thought would get done, because Preacher's got a raunchy, dark, kind of, you know, sexual, violent tone. But, man, Enos said himself when he did The Boys, I'm going to out Preacher in this book. And my God, I don't, they're going to still cut out half this thing. I don't care if it's Cinemax. I mean, and it's appropriate. Skinemax is the right place for The Boys. There is more sex in that comic than there is in your play.
For some of us who don't know what The Boys are, can you give us kind of a small or brief synopsis of what this is about?
A small synopsis is, quickly, Enos is not a big fan of the whole superhero genre in general. So when he writes, you know, he wrote Punisher, for example, and so he's kind of with the guys that are more grounded. You're never going to see him write a Superman per se. And he makes fun of the superhero genre in general. And what it is, it's a CIA unit that is specialized. They're there to keep superheroes in line. So they take some kind of enhanced drug that makes them strong enough to deal with. They can crush superheroes if they need to crush superheroes. And it parodies pretty much every major superhero team in existence, and not in a very positive light. Like, just a quick one off the top of my head. The X-Men, oh my God. They basically kind of insinuate the old Professor Xavier is a bit of a pedophile, and that's why he collects all these abandoned children. You know what I mean? These mutant children kind of thing.
Okay, so
this is wow.
Okay, so that clearly begs the question. As much as you're looking forward to this, are we pandering back once again to this I need to be better than the Daredevil. I need to be rated R. I need to push the limits of the next best television series.
I don't think this gets greenlit without Deadpool because, they're saying it's because Preacher it got greenlit. And maybe Preacher is that good and we haven't seen it yet. But I think Deadpool had a lot because the level of humor, because it's going to be humor, but it's going to be that gross, mature, dirty humor. It's not going to be
Cinemax late at night.
It's not going to be making fun of Captain America for swearing, how they do in all the time. But yeah, it's some pretty grown-up stuff we're talking. But it's a great comic. And the greatest part is Enos, and there's a great forward in, I think it's the first graphic novel, the first trade, done by Simon Pegg. Because if you look them up, there's a major character, and he looks just like Simon Pegg. And the reason is Simon Pegg was a nobody at the time. And the artist saw pictures of him in something or saw him in a show and said, I'm going to model, is it okay? I'm going to model this character after you. And then Pegg blew up a couple years later, and now Pegg is who he is, that we all know this is Simon. You read that, you're seeing Simon Pegg in this comic book to the T. So today I said, come on, Simon, you got to do this role. Come on. I mean, it's you.
It's him, so he's got to do it. I don't see why he wouldn't. Why would they not? If it is him, why would they not cast him? And why would he want to?
It could be money. It could be schedule. It could be lots of things.
Simon Pegg's one of those guys I just don't see, passing up a role like this that's basically him because of money. You know what I mean?
Well, his likeness. It's not really based on him, the person, so much, but his likeness.
But if it's his likeness, he needs to do it. He needs to get on it.
I should have brought one of my comics with me there in the room. I could show you, and you'd be like, "Holy crap, that's him!"
That's right. Anyway, cool, very cool. So let's move on. I cannot get away this evening without bringing up what I think is one of the biggest news items, especially for today, and that is we've been given a pre-teaser for the teaser tomorrow morning on Good Morning America for Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Yes. More Star Wars. You can't get enough. I'm sorry, I can't get enough. I'm excited. It's a quick little mini clip. If you haven't seen it, go look at it. I'm not going to discuss it because technically that's almost like spoiling the spoiler. So go check it out. It's online everywhere. What do you think, man? You ready for it? You ready to do Star Wars all over again?
I'm not as excited about this one as you are, but yeah, I'm ready for it. I just got my copy of, Force Awakens this afternoon. Haven't got it out of the package yet, but I'll probably be watching it tomorrow night. But yeah, I'm curious more with this one. The word prequel and Star Wars are always like a bad combination. So take it wait and see.
That's a whole other episode for another time because let me tell you that. Yeah, I get what everybody sees about the prequels, but they did serve a purpose. I'm not going to start defending them tonight. But from what I've seen, and again, I hesitate bringing it up because I don't have the facts. I still haven't found the facts on a couple of the articles I read, and I brought them up before. And until I do, I will not put them on air. But what I did read, if it was true, this thing could actually give The Force Awakens a run for his money if those things are true. If the people in this movie are the people they say they're going to be in this movie. Mm-hmm. If we're going to have the cameos we're supposed to have and the reasoning behind everything. There's something even in this little pre-teaser that knocked my socks off. And I think it's going right over everybody's head. And I think they're missing it. And hopefully it'll come out tomorrow in the full trailer.
Well, now everyone's going to go scour it and look for, whatever it is that you saw. Like, what's your little Easter egg?
Well, here's the hint. It's not what you're looking at. It's what you're hearing.
Gotcha.
Done. We'll leave that one alone. Oh, man. Right. Cool. Real quick, too, since we're on the topic, and you just kind of brought it up, too, I want to throw out one of the last things I had on out there. With the DVD being out, there's lots of access and deleted scenes that have been revolving around the internet that are really cool. Almost wish some of them would have been in the movie. And, hopefully there won't be some kind of,
well, they always look cool, but where they in there, then maybe you say the movie's bloated. You know what I mean?
Right.
Sometimes things
very true. Very true. But the article I read today was about a particular scene and a little bit more discussion about where Kylo Ren puts his helmet aboard that ship in that pile of ashes and what they are. Did you read any of this?
I saw the title, kept on moving because I'd rather see it for myself when I pop my DVD in. So yeah,
well, then I'm going to leave it there. So that's one of the more interesting things that I was looking forward to on the DVD is to hear more about that. I read some things, but apparently JJ goes into a bit more detail about Kylo Ren and his personality and his background, which is, you know, I try to tell people, especially those who really saw that movie as a rehash, which again, I totally get it. I totally see it. You could put two movies side by side. But this character of Kylo Ren, even with his emo temper tantrums, is clearly more disturbed and more twisted than Vader ever was. And I think we're going to get to see more of that. So cool. What else you got next, buddy?
Got one last news thing, probably the most important thing that happened in the last week. I'm surprised it wasn't in yours because there is nothing more important than this. It's the big news of the week.
Yeah, I knew that was going to come up. Are you kidding me?
His own movie. This isn't a Bugs Bunny movie. This isn't a Daffy Duck movie. There's no Fat Porky Pig. Speedy Gonzalez has his own movie coming. Be on the lookout.
Oh my God. Oh, here we go. No, you know what? Let me tell you. I'll put it to you this way. Listen. If it takes a cartoon to get more Mexicans on the screen, I'm all for it, dude. I need some more racial equality in this world.
Only George Lucas is getting it, man. We got to get some more.
Yeah, I can't imagine what they're going to have him do, and I'm scared to know. I'm scared to see how people are going to take it politically.
I have no idea what to expect, man.
Exactly.
You know what? But I get some of the best Speedy Gonzalez cartoons are now part of that whole band collection. You know, there's like these DVDs out there that's banned Looney Tunes because it's all the stuff that we don't show anymore. You know,
it's so politically incorrect. All that crap we grew up with is so politically incorrect and unfair because I used to look forward to those Looney Tunes marathons on what was it, like Labor Day on Cartoon Network, and then they stopped doing it because certain cartoons were ruled too, politically incorrect. You got
50% of
Elmer
the
Fudd,
library.
right? You got Elmer Fudd in blackface. You got Foghorn Leghorn just dishing out Southern racist comments. Yeah. Speedy Gonzalez, crossing one
drunk
fence
in the cantina and running across the fence.
Right, running across a fence. What's that supposed to imply? It's bad, but you know what? Again, it's a whole other. Again, that's one of my favorite phrases. Everybody drink if I say it's a whole other subject. Everybody take a shot. Go ahead. Drink. No, very cool. Definitely very cool. Well, and I'm sure you had something else. I thought there was a thing or two more.
Oh, I'm sure there's things out there. Nothing major.
I remember you were also brought up. You were talking about Civil War. We also are going to get a couple more trailers. I believe you just told me here just a second ago we were going to get King Kong trailer and a Suicide Squad trailer.
Suicide Squad trailer.
There we go. Yeah. There we go.
I forgot about that. The Suicide Squad trailer's coming out. There's all that crap about reshoots.
Right.
I hope they don't mess it up. That was my biggest concern about Batman versus Superman. Not whether you like it or not like it. We're not getting into that. Just the fallout would splash onto Suicide Squad, and they start changing what Ayer's vision was, and say, okay, we want you. Throw a few more lighter moments into it, and change what for him might have been a dark movie done right. Not just we're not going to get into the debate about Batman and Superman, but just what I mean. No. It would have been done maybe better, and so. I don't like that. One movie should not affect how another movie is cut. Like, I don't want Civil War to affect what they do with Doctor Strange. You know what I mean? I don't want Deadpool to affect what they do with X-Men. They're different movies. They're a different director. Yes, there's some continuity issues you got to deal with, but other than that, let them be their own movie. So.
I think the shame in all this is that if we can point to one thing. And it's the one movie we always come back to because they're the ones that did it. They're the ones that destroyed it, and that is the Fantastic Four movie. They had reshoots up the wazoo. So whether it was the director or the studio, now everyone hears reshoots, which are common.
Yes.
Let me tell you, from a movie standpoint, for being the real side of real comics, reshoots are common. Reshoots are very common. You reshoot this scene or that scene to get a different look or continuity flow, or reposition characters in a different spot so they can lead you in a different direction. It could be anything.
Yeah.
It could even be just voiceovers.
Things that aren't seen till they get in the editing room.
Exactly, but the problem is
it's just not flowing, and they want to give it a. But yeah, it's normal.
Yeah, everybody has those, man. Ant-Man had them. As a matter of fact, because of Fantastic Four, Ant-Man had a bunch before it was released, and people were wigging out.
Has had some. I remember when they were talking about for Civil War that they were calling people back to do these reshoots. Everyone's all, oh. And, you know, I will defend the comic book community gets a little nutso. That's that whole DC Marvel thing. When it happens with Marvel, it's like, oh, that's normal. When it happens with DC, it's doom and gloom. It's like,
yeah.
You know.
Well, the problem here's the problem with this one, though. Unfortunately, it's coming with all these reports that they want to make this a lighter film. And again, I think it's going to be something we're going to be talking about all year long, and that's the Deadpool effect. Okay, now I have this funny feeling that because of Deadpool and how funny it was, and this, now they want to go and be comparatively similar in some form or fashion and be more funny. When I may not have cared much for Batman versus Superman in its darkness, but I need Suicide Squad to be dark. I don't necessarily want it to be too funny. I mean, what do you think?
I mean, I like different things, and
yeah.
That's the thing that people just don't seem to get, you know. And to Marvel's credit, they're giving me both, and
right.
Warner Brothers has to figure out how to give me both. That's the big difference. It's okay, so I go see, like you said, Ant-Man. It's goofy and it's kind of funny. It's kind of childish, and you know they fight on a train, toy train. But then I turn on my Netflix a few months later and I watch Jessica Jones. So
right.
I'm getting both. They're giving me the more mature, they're giving me the more adult, the very, you know, difficult, brutal stories for me to chew on. But then they're also giving me just fun. You know, you got to have both. You can't just, if you're going to be a company that's putting out, 2 movies a year, 3 movies a year, whatever it is in this, you know, kind of genre, you need to mix it up, or it will be, as they say, the death of the comic book movie. If you just put out the same plan every time, you have to give us different, keep it interesting.
Right. Oh, I totally agree. I mean, I think, again, I think Marvel's mastered it. I'm not siding one way or the other. I just think that they've got a better handle on it. It is a bit sugar-coated, but let's face it, to the general viewing audience, it goes over pretty well. And I'm looking forward to something dark. I'm ready for something dark. We had funny, we had hilarious. Now we're going to go into, you know, we had this really dark movie. It's okay. It didn't have all the right pieces in Batman vs. Superman. Then we're going to jump into the Marvel world with Civil War. I know that that's going to have dark content, but I know they're going to lighten it up with some moments because that's how the characters interact with each other.
X-Men could won't be dark at all. X-Men could end up
X-Men might be dark. Yeah. But by the end, I want something dark. I mean, I'm talking like borderline, you know, I don't know, just creepy and dark. I'm ready for it. And that's the way the trailer's portrayed. So I hope they stick with it. Mm-hmm. Cool. Very cool. Anything else you got on the docket there?
No, let's go ahead and get into our stuff. You know, we could talk forever. There's probably 2 or 3 little tiny things, but we'll move forward. We'll bring them up next time.
Well, let's move on, Speedy G. We are going to talk about now our thoughts on season 6 of The Walking Dead. I'm probably a bit more fan than Mr. Speedy G over there, but he does enjoy the show and he does have his opinions as well as I do. We're going to start off by maybe just throwing out a kind of letter grade for the season, and then we're going to get into some particular moments that happened through the season that I kind of want to discuss with you, and whether you thought they helped or hindered a lot of times in the show. So are you ready to go?
Sure. Let's go for it.
Awesome. All right, here we go. Oh, be warned, too. I want to note right now, starting in just a few seconds, we are just going to go straight into talking about the season. So if you haven't seen the season, like Speedy G said earlier, turn us off. Turn us off and go start watching it, and then come back and then watch our review of the whole season. You can see what we think.
I think we're entertaining, but we're not that entertaining. Go watch it.
You know, that's pretty good. I like it. I think we're entertaining. It's a good show. Go check it out for sure. All right, so we are going straight into spoilers in 3, 2, 1. I think I just stole that from Talking Dead, Chris Hardwick. No, I didn't do that at all. All right, let's get into it. Speedy G, we're going to talk Walking Dead Season 6, and we're definitely going to get into that finale with, of course, that had the major appearance of Negan. This season has taken us from, walkers in a quarry to the main cast down on their knees. It's taken us on a long ride. So to start us off here, if you had to give this a letter grade from A to F, what would you give this season of The Walking Dead as a letter grade?
The season as a whole, I'd give it a B. There were some episodes that were amazing, but there were some other episodes that weren't as amazing, and there was a lot of plots just that were left unfinished, and we just kept on moving, and we never addressed them. I mean, as I thought about it, and we were doing a recap, and I was thinking about different things. I'm like, wow, they never dealt with that, and we just glossed on by, and they're never going back. But that's been The Walking Dead, so I'm not one of the people like, this show sucks. That's what the show is. I could talk about any season of The Walking Dead, and there's things that they just abandon. It's a very common thing. I don't know why. I think maybe they think it's a good idea and they put it in there just in case, and then they just move on. But yeah, give it a solid B. I had a good time with it.
I think I would probably upgrade it only slightly, and I would say probably B+. But I'm definitely with you. I see how they can trail off, and if you want, we can start getting into specifics. As somebody who has not read the comics, let's just get into the
over-under on me accidentally spoiling Voodoo, because Voodoo has not read any comics, and I've dabbled in the comics, is 2.
You better not.
I get into a big discussion, and I might let a little something slip, but I'm going to do my damnedest not to say something dumb.
Dare let it slip. Well, let's get into the first one I was going to bring up, and that is kind of what I felt was kind of a quick gloss over of the wolves. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did they? You don't have to get into details, but it seemed like there should have been a bigger presence before we moved forward. Is that true?
They were glossed over, but that's been, again, we're going to look at the theme. Look at Terminus, man. Terminus was in and out. Man, it was built up, and bam, it was gone. Really only the governor was given legitimate meat. That they stayed with a while, and they really built him. And I figure that's what we're going to get with Negan, that type of thing with the Negan and the Saviors. But, yeah, the wolves were in and out. I divide this movie, this season A and season B, right? Season
right. That's the way
is the death of the Alexandrians. It pretty much is about wiping out Alexandrians. Season B is the march to Negan. And those are the two major plots. And some things happen in the middle, like you have the wolves and you have some other things, but that's where it's marching. And what I mean about abandoned plot, if the plot or a certain story with a certain character really doesn't forward that narrative, the narrative to get to Negan or the narrative to wipe out all these Alexandrians so they become tough. I guess that was the only way for them to become tough, is just kill them. Like they killed so many first half.
Well, they had that episode. They had that whole episode where we're by the end, and this was during, it's towards B season here. Where Carl, Alexandria's overrun. But finally, the red shirted, they should have all been in red Star Trek shirts. Finally, the Alexandrians stood up, and even one of the cast members that have been holding back a little bit, the main crew, kind of stepped up, and there was that whole scene where they were going, swish, 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 swish,
yeah, but
and they were just
look at how many died before that. In the first 3 episodes, episode 1, they're out there trying to move that herd, right?
Right.
Think of all the people died as they're moving that herd. There
were 2 or 3, yeah.
There were more than 2 or 3. There were a few that went down, I think. And then the second episode, the wolves overrun the town and kill a whole bunch of Alexandrians, pretty much. Number 3 is the episode where Glenn goes under the dumpster, but at least 3 Alexandrians go down in that episode. 3 or 4 go down, I think.
Well,
so we are just wiping Alexandrians out.
One by his own will. Don't forget that was that idiot that took Glenn with. So, but no, I totally agree, and that's probably why.
Technically, we don't lose. What's the the woman with her 2 children. They technically don't die till the first episode of season B, but we
Right.
know they're going down right there as they walk out there.
That whole family was,
They
man,
wiped out
toast.
so many Alexandrians.
Rick can't even be in love, man. Rick can't even be in love. And finally, now we've got, since we're on the subject, now we have the Rishon.
Mm-hmm.
People have been wanting this on the internet forever. Now, listen, I'm neither way, but I notice it's mostly females who really wanted this. What are your thoughts on this coupling, at least, specifically the couple itself? No matter where they go from here, you may know more, I don't know, but they've gotten together on the show.
That's comic book, no. That's comic book.
Okay.
Okay,
Good.
But it's been going that way for a long, long time. I thought it was nice. It was a nice moment. That whole episode was about nice moments. It was about, everybody kind of relaxing and taking a deep breath, and that, yay, we're in a good place now. And then, of course, that was just to fooled you so we can get back into the nastiness of Walking Dead. It was a foolish episode. Yeah. But,
yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, if you think about that whole one was about people thinking.
Is there an episode or a moment that comes out in this series, either A or B, that just it really set you off to being really excited about the show? Did you have a favorite moment?
Oh, there was some great episodes,
barring the finale.
You know what? The third episode with Glenn Dine was actually a great episode. If they would have left him dead, I would consider it the best episode of the whole season. If they'd have left him
I remember
dead.
you.
But by bringing
you and I talked about it for about a week.
People get upset. Oh, what, you don't like Glenn? I love Glenn. Okay? That's why the episode was good. Because it was the wrenching of my heart, which this show has gotten away from, like I said, killing Alexandrians. It's a show about zombies, folks. People that you love are going to die. And it's something you just got to get grips. Like all the whole, we're going to riot if Daryl dies. It's a show about zombies, man. Daryl's going to die at some point. It just is what it is. And that's part of the journey. That's part of the roller coaster of this whole thing. But yeah, that was probably my favorite.
My frustration with that point was that I was upset, almost brought to tears, even almost just a little bit misty-eyed.
Good.
And you and I talked about it the next day, and we talked about it the day after that, and the day after that, because it was still on our minds. And I had come to grips with it. I wanted to be done with it, and then they threw in the What Became of Morgan episode in between. And again, it's one of my favorite episodes, but we're still all wondering what the deal is with Glenn, right?
Yeah.
So yes, I agree with you. I would have been happy I wouldn't have been happy, but I would have been okay with it because I was already going through that mental process of letting go of somebody I cared about and being dead.
It shocked us. We didn't expect it at that moment. It's a fan favorite. I mean, everything's going to your mind. How's Maggie going to handle it? But she's pregnant. I mean, all these things. Such an emotional moment in the show. And then, psych. It just, I don't know. They had a couple of those this year. So
yeah, that's for sure. Okay, so let's talk about him still being alive. So how did you feel about? Okay, he was actually under the dumpster. What did you think? Did that kind of ruin that? Did that episode kind of fall flat because of it?
Once I accepted that I knew he was going to be, and I knew he was going to be alive before we had that episode. You just had to. Everybody kind of knew. You just accept it and you move on. But like I said, to me, it ruined what could have been an amazing episode. And then once he was back, you just kind of get into, well, okay, now Glenn's back, and you roll with it. But yeah, there's little things like that. I liked Carol this year. First half. I don't like Carol's second half as much. I think they swung that pendulum just too far in one direction or the other. And this is what I mean, and this is another reason to kill off some cast, is there's too many people to tell some stories about, and just maybe the story isn't that broken up, but we don't see Carol for 4 episodes, and then all of a sudden, badass cookie-making, mean-ass Carol is having a mental breakdown. We don't see anything kind of leading up to that. It's just all of a sudden breakdown. It's
right.
Whoa. And it's a little jarring, and it's just the way, and I think it's too much cast. There's too much cast right now. Thin the cast out a little bit, especially now you're adding Jesus, you're adding, Negan, you're adding, new characters. And when are you going to find time for all these people?
Right. No,
I'd like to know how Father Gabriel became the badass he's become. All of a sudden, he's a badass. He looked cool at the end right there with the rifle, looking like, yeah, I got this shit under control. I got the town on lockdown. It's like, wow, where'd that come from? But we see nothing of that, and that's an unfortunate. Of what can you do? Too many people. You got to stick to the main story. Get to Negan. That's the main story.
Well, I agree with your assessment. I think the one thing that we differentiate is how much we like Carol. I think that's the reason why I think you're a little bit more disappointed, and I'm actually a little bit more glad, because I never really cared. I'm one of the few deadheads that actually cared. I didn't care for Carol a whole lot. I think that her original journey from the previous seasons was so quick and so sharp that it almost, people fell in love with that. They wanted her to start running the group and stuff like that. And I just was like, well, wait a minute. She just talked about a pendulum swing. It was one to the other. So seeing her fall from all that has actually been interesting for me. I do think, though, where I agree with you is it's a little bit much, especially where we're at in the finale, where it left the two, where it left Morgan and her. That actually, I was a little.
That should have all been cut out, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, I was talking with someone, and they were kind of chatting, kind of texting thing, and they said, well, Carol fans wanted to know what happened to her based on how it got left off the episode before. That was one of their responses, and I was like, but in my mind, I'm thinking, well, we shouldn't have even been there. We should have saved that. I mean, the introduction of the men in armor. Okay, I'm just gonna leave it at that, or I'll have my first spoiler on you. The introduction of the men in armor could have waited, because it's kind of a cool thing, and I don't care how cool it wasn't going to be cooler than Negan. All our minds are on Negan, so it would be overshadowed. So why even put it in there? Just save it for next year. Introduce it later. And
no, I totally agree.
The whole Carol thing could have waited, but.
I agree when it comes to the finale, but we're going to save the finale for a little bit for last. Let's not get into the finale too much here. Next thing. So we touched on it real quickly. The loss of an entire family. A mom, her two sons, and Carl's eye. What did you think about how all that went down, that particular episode? That was probably another.
The eye was
one
cool.
of my. Yeah.
The eye was done well. It's one of those things, and it's done in comics. You see in comics, like, how the hell are they going to do that in real life? How are we going to buy that?
Right.
Someone getting shot like that and living. There's a lot of things that go into that, and they did a good job on that. I really liked the eye. The family. All I did, and I guess I shouldn't think that way, because this is you watching a television show. You wouldn't feel like that in a family in real life, but I just felt bad for the mom. Her husband was the king of the assholes, or porch dick.
Porch dick.
Her kids were a mess. They were just a total mess. And in the end, trying to take care of her kids, they dragged her down, in essence. That's what's happening. She's being dragged down into the zombies with them.
Right. Well, she, as a parent, she, and I'm a parent, you're a parent, so you can kind of relate. She just.
Well, if you look at it from
never
real
let
life,
go.
I wouldn't think about it. But if I look at it as I'm watching a show and I like a character, it's like, man, that character got the raw end of the deal with that.
Yeah. I was just starting to like her, and you know what? It's funny.
She was strong. She would have been an Alexandrian that would have lasted. One of the few that could have been part of the main group.
Yeah, definitely part of the bummer part of that whole thing, because it wasn't because I was just getting to like her. I just thought that she fit better than any of the other Alexandrians. I thought she was a really good fit to continue on with the rest of the group's story, no matter where it led them. And I really did. And then the funny thing was, and I don't do this, I don't follow a lot of celebrities I do a little on my Twitter, but not too much like on Instagram and stuff. This lady was a funny, really cool chick, man. She's just an awesome person. I mean, I love everybody, but this lady was just really outgoing and stuff. I could have seen her going far onto this show. I'm sure she got along with everybody, and it was kind of a shame and a bummer, but I'm also kind of glad, though, that it kind of did happen. It kind of brought Rick back to a sense of reality, though, too, don't you think? it kind of brought him back to that Rick mode character.
Yeah, he moved right into Michonne pretty darn quick. Even though we're supposed to, it's been a few months or a month or so. He didn't grieve
It
that
said
long.
I thought it was supposed to be like 3 months. I'm not quite sure.
Oh, okay. All right.
To check it. A nice big long passage of time. So supposedly. Let's see. What else do we need to talk about? Okay, a couple more things before we get to the big finale. Oh, go ahead. It looks like
some people. I think Daryl got shortchanged this year. I think there was multiple times he was not even on the screen or not in the episode or he was off. I don't think they gave him a lot. Other than that one episode when he's out there and the first time he meets what's his name? Guy with the burned face. Dwight. That was really his only episodes, and I guess he had that one with Rick when they found Jesus, but there was not a lot of Daryl this year. It felt like he wasn't part of the main storyline. I would say
I agree with that a little, but I did enjoy his solo show out there with Dwight and those ladies. I thought that was a really good episode because that also showed Daryl shifting from he was softening up. He was in that position where we're going to help. Excuse me. We're going to help. Rebuild Alexandrians with the people that we know need to be here and things like that. He was getting really soft, and it just. That whole thing, getting screwed over, having to face the saviors on the road, that was a pretty tense moment for the first time, and surviving that, luckily, I think set his mind in another position, which led to all the bullshit that we're going to see that we saw in the finale. So
I was telling you, what I find interesting is there's no real blueprint for Daryl and Carol. Okay, because they're not, at this point where we're at, they're not really relevant in the comic. Okay?
Right.
So everything that's being written for them and decided how they're going to use them is completely what's being done by the writers for the show. So I think that's why we kind of get some of these like sharp turns, or they're not involved in a storyline, because to involve them in that storyline, we'd have to push them into a storyline that they don't belong in, because they're technically not part of some of these storylines that are happening right now. So those two, I think, while they had some awesome episodes, and they're definitely two of my favorite characters, they were kind of, I don't know, they were inconsistent. That's the word I'm looking for. They were very inconsistent this year.
I would go as far as to say flat.
Yeah, they had some bitchin' moments.
Oh, she did. Don't get me wrong. She definitely did. She definitely had a comeback. I like that.
She wiped out the wolves. That was pretty
sweet.
The
saviors. Yeah. And the saviors, after telling them, you know what, don't make me, I'm going to that's the ultimate right there. That's ultimate badass. When you're telling people it's going to happen and then it does, you're going to get set down. All right, so that brings up to a couple of moments I wanted to point out. First moment, we're going to talk about Dwight and the crossbow, taking out the doctor. That was quite a big shock to me. I honestly spent the whole episode. I got trolled. Stupid internet got me. I got on when I normally shouldn't. And there were pictures of Daryl everywhere. And so I had it in my stupid head that he was going to be the one to go that evening. And it wasn't. So it caught me by surprise. How did you react to that?
Oh, that totally caught me by surprise. Like I said, I've dabbled in the comics, but I haven't read the comics. So I didn't know that moment was coming. And I know I'm saying that moment happened in the comics that way, but I had no idea we were going to get that type of a moment. So when it happened and she kept talking, that I jumped out of my chair. That was a pretty wild moment. And then later, of course, I'm thinking, damn it, I swear I thought Rosita was going on that episode. I don't know why, but I was telling my daughter the whole time. I go, this is Rosita's day. I don't know why. This is Rosita's day. So I spent so much focus on Rosita on that whole episode that when she took that arrow in the eye, I was not prepared for it.
Well, Shaq, here's where I think it got you, and this is where good directing comes in, okay? Think about what you saw prior to that. It was almost, I wouldn't call it a goodbye, but there was a lot of emphasis on what Rosita was doing this meantime now that Abraham has dumped her in favor of Sasha. And so it was a lot about her toying around with the son of the mayor of the Alexandrians. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. and whether or not they were going to hang out. And Spencer, that's it. And so there was some of that, and just it was all these little isolated moments, And then we have that typical, it reminds me of being in a horror movie when people start yelling at the screen, right? You've got, the doctor who is all alone, wanted to come for a reason, and the two badasses are 20 yards up the tracks. Something bad is coming. How could you just go like, no, don't walk down the tracks. No, don't go. So that whole thing was set up awesome from the get-go. They wander over to a car. She's trying to get a cooler out of a car and almost gets bitten. And
because she wanted to get Tara soda. That's what that was all about.
Right, just that damn soda. But the point is, they let her do it. No, I mean, I'm no military guy, but I know you put one badass in front, you put one badass in back, and you put the weak person right in the middle so they don't bring you down.
When we watched that episode, I told you that too. You don't let the doctor go on the missions. The only doctor, all those things. But then I sit and think, if logic played into this show, it'd be a pretty boring show. Okay, so you have to have these moments where they do dumb things, like they all run off in a separate way when they know that the saviors are gunning for their town. Let's all go off. You go run off and go do this, and we're going to go run off, and Carol's going to run off, and that stuff. Of course, that it does, but that's how you get them out of the city, and you get the story, and you get these moments. So you have to kind of dispel that kind of thing, like it's a movie. You have to just let the reality part of it go and say, okay, yes, those are decisions that are not pretty bright and an intelligent person probably wouldn't make. But then it'd be a pretty boring show. You got to let it.
You got to let the mistakes happen. I get it. I totally get it. But what I'm trying to say is that did set me up for quite a big shock, because I thought it might happen then, and of course they lulled me, and then zoop, that arrow goes right through. Which brings me to my next big topic. So
before we go there, I just want to say something.
Okay. Go ahead. Go.
That arrow was not meant for her. There is a cast member walking around on that team that is still around that arrow was meant for. So just keep that in mind. So we have a dead man walking. Okay. Just saying.
I'm not saying anything else, but they
put an Alexandrian in the spot of a beloved cast member, and I hope that's not a theme when we get to the end of this whole thing. When we talk about Negan, there better not be a theme.
I hope not either. So let's talk about the Dwight versus Daryl incident. Now, our beloved cast has been captured, at least a few of them, out on those tracks after the death of the doctor, and Dwight has Daryl on his knees in dead bang. And that's how that season ended, with a shot to the shoulder.
That episode, yeah.
I don't. Excuse me, that episode.
Yeah. The point of that, I don't understand what the hell the point of that was. Him shooting.
I think it was a major just freak out for most people, because they did. I told you the next day I had people messaging me on Facebook, saying, "Oh my God, that better not be Daryl." And I knew, technically in my head, I knew it probably wasn't him. So, shock value only, I think.
Yeah, that was a weird choice to make at that point. I don't know. Yeah, I knew it wasn't him either. It was what the heck? I thought it might, thinking logically, because like you said, I knew it couldn't be Daryl at that moment. We're one episode away from Negan. If they're going to off Daryl, they're not going to off him the episode before Negan. So the only thing I thought he could possibly be, unless it was like his shoulder, that they shot Rosita. But then I saw it again. I watched the ending again. I go, no, he shot Daryl on the shoulder. That's all that is.
Yeah. I saw a replay later that just solidified it for me. I had people get these, and I'm kind of guilty. I get conspiracy theoried out sometimes. I have these thoughts in my, but people were going, "Oh, I see chunks of brain on the screen, on the blood that's dripping down." And I'm like, "You're crazy." Okay, now you're reaching. Knock it off. Stop that.
Yeah, there's no way they take a character like that out that way.
Right.
They don't do it. I mean, he's too major of a character. You don't do it that way. When they took out Beth, you saw it. There was no.
Oh my God! Let's not go back there. That.
A major character doesn't go out that way. They just don't do that. They never have. They get their moment. They get their death. That's the one thing you got to give Walking Dead. They give their people a big death scene.
Yeah.
Very memorable death scene. So
nobody goes out. Nobody goes out lightly. Yeah, we don't want to go to the Beth one. That one bothered me for weeks, man. It just did. That one really got to me. Anyway, so hey, moving on. Let's talk about. I want to bring up your thoughts because I think you know the character better than I do. I'm going to assume because I do know he is a comic book character, and that is Jesus. What are your thoughts on the early impressions of the character Jesus?
You know what? It's interesting. He's popular with some fans, and other fans don't really like him as much.
I kind of like him. I'm a noob, and I kind of like him.
They just felt there was a little bit too much of an emphasis on him once he came into the comics, and at the sacrifice of some storytelling for some of the other characters that were already in the mix. So fan reaction, I think, is a little mixed to him. And then again, where'd he go? He's like out of the picture again. That's why I give it a B. It's like you bring this major character in, you bring the Hilltop in, and then they're gone. There's no interaction whatsoever. There had to be some kind of repercussions to the Hilltop for that raid on, Negan's compound.
Right, that early raid.
Nothing, and to bring a major character like that and just forget about it, and that's again part of the B. That would be my thing.
I would agree with that.
Cool actor.
I like him. The guy plays the part really well. I think he's another Brit and or Aussie. I can't remember another Brit cast member and or Aussie. Just somebody who's not American. It's interesting what he brings to the role. Plus, again, as a non-comic book fan, or at least, a non-comic book reader, I'm still trying to guess what the reason is for all his skills. How's he getting to get out of all these places, man? I got all kinds of stuff running through my head, from magician to cat burglar. I mean, I don't know, but he's definitely got some skills, and I'm hoping that we either get to find out why, or at least he puts a few more of them on display.
And I hope so too. And again, that's like going back to that complaint, is develop these new wonderful characters. Develop Jesus. Let us learn more about Jesus. Like Aaron, we still really haven't really learned anything about Aaron. Or Jesse. We don't get into them enough, and then they're gone, just like that. And
right.
So I develop Jesus, and maybe that's why I say it'd be okay if someone really popular got that bat in the head, so that we could have some space for some new people. So.
Right. Totally agree. All right. I think we've covered some things. Is there anything you want to talk about other than the season finale that either you liked or disliked with the rest of the whole A or B season?
No, I had fun this year. It was a good. I mean, there was only maybe one Monday or Tuesday that I got up and said that one just didn't do it for me.
Right.
But it was very rare. But overall, I would leave the show saying, no, that was pretty good. That was fun. When we get to the finale, there's something I want to talk about, though, how the B season created a certain feeling in me. It was an interesting phenomenon, but when we talk about it, I'll get into it.
All right, we'll get to that in a second. I just wanted to make sure there wasn't anything else you wanted to touch on. I just want to say, you know what? I thought it's been pretty good, and that's why it gets a little bit of a B+, just a little bit more for me. From the overrunning of Alexandria to how they fix it back up. We lost a few more characters, gained a few more trust. I do want to see, you're absolutely right, how is it that the priest all of a sudden is a complete and total badass? I clearly having to save Alexandria from falling is a big point there. So.
And who is Enid? They hinted at things. They hinted about, like, is she a wolf? And that was totally abandoned. And now she's just getting locked in the closet.
You just stole my thunder. I was just going to hit that topic next. It's okay. I was gonna say what's the deal with Enid? It's the one character on this show that I still don't trust. She's got everybody's trust on that show now, right? Mm-hmm. We saw, her even cutting hair in the finale. Again, I don't want to get there to jump too quickly, but she's got everybody's trust. She's even talking to Carl more. I get that maybe Steve, I almost said his real name, Glenn, has been more of a father figure to her at this point, and they had a time out there, but I don't trust that chick. I don't trust that little girl. She's going to pull the back of her hair, and it's going to be like Damien from The Omen, and there's going to be a W in there instead. She's still going to be a wolf. I don't know. You're right. It's unfinished, so definitely still just a B for me. Truly. All right, man. Are you ready to do this?
Yep.
All right. So let's get into the season finale right here. Spoilers. Again, another warning. We're going to talk about it all. The season finale was huge. We had people that loved it. We had people that are upset about the way that it was done. I'm just going to kick the ending, specifically the ending, and some moments during it. It was an hour and a half long. A lot of people, I think even you, think it was a little too long. I think it kind of was as well. There could have been more content on something else, and I didn't get enough almost.
It could have been tighter. It could have just been an hour and have been really tight. But hey, gotta get the money while it's hot. Walking Dead isn't gonna last forever. Everybody's tuned in, but more commercials.
Strike while it's hot. So real quickly in here, I'm gonna say if you could rank this among some of the finales that we've had over the years of the season, of The Walking Dead. I know it's kind of difficult to go back and think about which ones there were, but how does this one rank up there?
I got to think about what were finales.
Well, I just kind of, the first one I go straight back to, just to kind of give you a help, I just go straight back to the fall of the prison. Or, there was that.
How did it end as they went into Terminus? Okay. Did that season with the little girls that Carol has to kind of snuff?
No, I don't. I think that was
part of the finale, or was that the comeback from the finale?
I think that was the comeback from a finale. Yeah, because they had to leave that place. That's how Carol gets to go and get them at Terminus. So what do you think?
The Terminus.
Just give me your best shot.
The Terminus one was intense. It really was. The way it ended. And that the fact that they're all in that car together after being separate for a whole season, that was the season everybody was separated. And
walking down the tracks.
But there's that reunion
in a boxcar
place.
Yeah.
So that might be my favorite. I don't know. God, I'd have to really think hard about that because I'm not exactly sure what the finales are. It kind of is all jumbled in my head.
Right. All right. Well, let's start from the beginning. So our season finale kicked off with everybody kind of chasing some people down. Daryl took off, the episode before, Daryl took off and he had his run-in with Dwight. Everybody's looking for Carol. Everybody's looking for Carol. And then now we have Maggie in a position where she could be losing the baby and they need to get to a doctor. So we've got, roads blocked by saviors at every path and that whistle. However they do it, man, they got that going on. What did you think of all that buildup before we definitely get into some serious talk about Negan?
It wasn't bad. I think that was okay. The buildup maybe just a touch less. It was done okay. Yeah, I liked it. There were some great moments. There was that great moment with Abraham and Sasha when he's driving and they talk about, could they have a kid together? That was a nice moment. There's, Carl's back in the mix. I like that because Carl's in. Like I said, it's not that I didn't like the Morgan Carol stuff. I just felt it took away from what I wanted to see.
No, I agree with you there.
It was all right. I didn't hate it, and I felt that anxiety that I was supposed to feel.
Yeah, truly. I agree with you. They, every turn we've got these saviors. There was a row of Walking Dead walkers on the road that blocked their path at one point, wearing some of the artifacts that some of the captured main cast were wearing, and that kind of set Rick off onto a maniacal path, which I thought was interesting. And I'm going to lead that into when we get to talking about the Negan thing. I liked that Rick was losing it. He nowhere to go. He didn't know what to do. He's trying to save Maggie's life, and I think that's what heightened it for me. You can clearly see that's it. He's gotten to the point where he sees a couple of Michonne's dreads on this walker and stuff like that, where he has lost it. He knows no matter what he does, something
Because you
bad is
have to
coming.
assume she's dead at that point. You
Right.
have to assume that they're all dead.
Yep.
You know, based on what, hate to say it, but the original crew has done to Negan's men, I would assume they're dead.
Right.
Because think of all the saviors that they've killed. So if you look at
A
that and
lot.
say we've killed a ton of saviors, and they finally caught some of our people, they're probably dead. You know, so
Yeah,
that's what he's probably thinking.
That whole buildup I thought was great. I know it bothered a lot of people on too long. Some people tweeted out that they thought that portion of the show could have been shorter. But I'm more in agreements with you. I think the Carol and Morgan thing should have been either left aside or been a lot shorter. I don't think we needed all of that. But I do like at least that guy who did survive the roadblock was still alive, and that was resolved. At least that moment was resolved.
Think about this. Or do you think it was more important to keep that secret? That we see that the other ones are alive. The captured 4 are alive. And we see that Daryl, give us that moment. Let us know Daryl's alive. And see them in that, captured. Instead of doing the Carol Morgan. Instead of keeping that, give us that instead of giving us the end. Because it's almost like when they pulled them out of that thing to put them on their knees, it was surprising to Rick and them, but it wasn't surprising to me. It's like, well, of course they're in there because we're at the end already, and they haven't shown them to us, and they're going to be part of the lineup.
Right. Well, they were giving hints. In the show, there were these holes through the doors that they would glance back from, but that's it. So, are you saying that there should have been more of them sitting in the box having a conversation, or
and taking care of Daryl, maybe? And so they could relieve that moment because, saying, well, no, but that causes tension. Nobody knows if Daryl's dead. You know what? Everybody knows Daryl's not dead at this point. I just feel like we all know he's not dead. And that if he's going to be dead, it's going to be dead as a result of what happened at the end of the show, not of what happened last week. So I don't know. Maybe that would have been a better way, but that's just a thought.
I agree. I don't know. I kind of liked it the way it was done. It was a bit heightened for me. So I mean, we definitely need to get right to it. And that's. Go ahead. What were we gonna say?
Oh no.
Okay. I took a deep breath. I thought something was coming. Again, for me, it was pretty heightened. I was on the edge of my seat because I knew something bad was coming. Of course, I knew what was coming. I unfortunately had someone spoil some of this for me. I'm not going to get into who that was, but that was but at least I didn't know how it was going to go down or any of that stuff. I didn't know how the character was going to react, and that is the Negan. Tell me what your first impressions of, and your kind of comparison to what you know from the comic to what you saw on the show, all that. Let's hear what you think about Negan.
I was thinking about the whole ride, and like I told you, the second half of the season, I had a certain feeling about the show that I've never had with another show. Really, is an impending doom. Every week you tune in, and I don't care what the group was winning, the group was kicking the crap out of other groups, the group was getting food. You have Rick and Michonne hooking up. There should be all these light moments, but unfortunately, once it was announced that Negan was cast. And it was, there was almost no way to miss it as a Walking Dead fan. You'd have to be somebody who doesn't go on the internet at all. Even just the most casual Walking Dead fan reads enough articles to know that Negan's coming. That sparks just enough for you to know that Negan does something really, really bad. And then you might say, okay, I'm out. I'm not going to read what this bad thing is. I'm not going to read who this bad thing happens to, but this bad thing is coming.
I didn't even have to read. The pictures were online in my Twitter feed.
So it's the worst secret of a show, okay? That's the problem with it coming from source material. It's really one of the worst kept secrets. So you have this anticipation of this all coming to a head. And every week you have this dread, and you see them, I think Hardwick said on one of the shows, making bad choices. And there's going to be repercussions to these bad choices. And you see it, and you know it's coming. So what everyone's upset about is after, for months building us this way, you didn't give us the payoff. We needed that payoff. And that's where by making it a cliffhanger, you did not give us a payoff to this emotional stress you put me through episode after episode after episode. I needed it. I needed to have as horrible as the payoff would have been, and as sad as I'm going to be when I find out who it is, it's not going to have as much of an impact when it comes back. Right. It's not. You can't tell me it is.
Well, let's see. I'm kind of the other camp. And here, let me tell you why. And I initially wasn't. And I'll be honest with you, I felt just like you did. And I'm trying to give my opinions and not refer to other people's opinions. But when you hear from the writers themselves who were on The Talking Dead, which is a great show. People, if you're not watching it, please watch it. It's a great show if you love The Walking Dead. The writers were on there, and towards the end of their portion of being on The Talking Dead, they basically put it in these terms, and it started to make a little bit more sense with me. Because it makes sense doesn't mean I still like it, but I'm just saying it made sense. And that was that it was the end of one complete story. It's almost like finishing one comic, and you're about to start with the next chapter of the comic. And so that he said that the show now will be completely different from step one. And what I did like him saying, even though it is kind of a spoiler itself, was that we weren't going to be left hanging. When that first episode appears in October to give us the first episode for season 7, we're going to know right away. It's going to kick off. That's what he's swearing up and down. It's going to kick off with exactly what's going to happen.
He accomplished everything he's saying and showed us that death. That could have still been the conclusion of the story, that death. And then, as you said, the next is, I think it's a cliffhanger. It's just straight up.
It is.
Cliffhanger 101. I mean, it is. And I just think it's, if it had been any other show, like, I guess the one thing I can only compare Walking Dead to is Game of Thrones, because there was source material. And the reason I say it is because they both have source material and they both kill people you like, the whole things. I think what happens with Game of Thrones, where a lot of people are shocked by, like, say, Jon Snow going down, which we don't know what's going to happen yet.
Right.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
I don't think as many people have put the emphasis into reading those big old books. Okay, so the average fan doesn't know that. And then the average writer that writes on multiple publications that write about the Game of Thrones don't know enough to really spoil you either. And they know just basics. The Walking Dead being a comic book, okay, I write for Magazine A, and I have to write about TV shows, Walking Dead. I send out my PA, get me episode 100 of The Walking Dead. That's the episode Negan. I mean, that's the comic Negan shows up. Give me comic 100. I can read comic 100, and just also visually I can see things. And even though I may not understand all the connotations, I can get a good understanding of what this bad thing is that's going to happen tonight. And I can write about it. And in doing that, I can spoil it. And writer A isn't the only one. All these writers can do that, and they write it, and I think they spoil it a little bit for people, so they're expecting that big moment. With Game of Thrones, it really is a shock, because I don't think as many people are able to spoil it. It's a select group of those readers, and you really have to search those readers out. You know, if you're playing around on those sites, then you deserve to be spoiled. You know, I don't know. It's just an opinion.
I agree with you on all of that. I definitely get where you're coming from, and I agree with you on all of that. But here's where I'm going to tell you where I kind of like it. They've done it in such a way, for me at least, that even the actors, we don't know that it's going to go the way of the comic book. I would probably say when I first, before it happened, when Negan walked out of that camper, I was probably like 90% sure it was going to happen the way it was in the comic, and happen the way that somebody spoiled it for me, which really had me upset already. So I was already on edge, hoping it wasn't going to be somebody. I was starting to get my mind working towards this particular beloved character. You know what I mean? Just trying to do it that way. And the way that it kind of ended left me with going, well, wait a minute. It doesn't have to be him. And then the actors backed it up by going, you know what? We don't even know. They actually stopped filming that night.
You know, I don't know if it was the Today Show or Good Morning America. Norman Reedus says he knows who it is. and it's brutal.
Well, maybe he spoke with somebody. You got Chandler Riggs tweeting out
Or
and
why
Maggie,
else
or
would
maybe it's a
Norman
swerve.
Reedus know? Just a thought. Why would he be privy to information that maybe other actors aren't?
Oh, stop it. They don't know.
You
They
know
won't
you're
know
not
until they all
coming
go back.
to the show, and you're already looking for a new apartment somewhere else.
Actually, you know what? Actually, the closest thing that I came to today, because I couldn't help but touch it, and I want to just touch on this. I don't know if we'll retweet it. I thought about doing it, and then I said no because it's so vague. But I thought somebody did a great job. Somebody who is an audio specialist broke down every bit of audio during the moment when Negan starts to swing the bat for the first time. But what he's doing is he's also propped up words as to who's saying these things. So he's slowed down the audio, okay, because they're all screaming kind of at once, correct? So he slowed down the audio, which separates different voices. Some are easy to understand, some aren't. But all you hear is either male voice or female voice, and then he puts the words up who he says is talking. So I don't know whether to discuss this or not, but I found it interesting.
I want you to send it to me because I don't care. I'll spoil it.
I'll send it to you. It's on YouTube. If it's out there, go check it out. I'm not going to tweet it out there. You need to go find it yourself if you're watching us. Go check it out. I don't want to be responsible. Yeah. And I thought it was pretty good job if it is accurate. And you can hear one character kind of, and then it says that this is the character that's saying it, and you can go, oh, I get that. It's kind of like those ghost shows that are on. Even I like those ghost shows. They say that the ghost is saying this, but you can't quite make it out. Yeah. It's kind of the same way.
You don't know what clearly they did. You don't. I don't know. I've narrowed it down to 4 people. It's one of 4 people. And one of the 4,
I'll tell you what,
I'm going to say. One of the 4 I'm going to say because I don't believe it's a spoiler. It would be a spoiler. Instead, it'd be going back to what I discussed earlier.
Okay, wait a minute. Warning. We're going to give random speculation that may spoilers. I'm stopping this podcast real quick because if you don't want to know, go ahead, turn us off.
Okay, this is just one of the 4, and I'm not going to say the other 3. And if it is this person, I've already told you, I will be pissed. Okay. If it's Aaron,
go ahead.
If it's once again an Alexandrian, like I said earlier, taking the arrow for somebody else, in this case taking the bat for a beloved fan favorite, I am going to be pissed. And I understand the theories on why it could be him is why else is he there? Now he could be a red herring because then we're all thinking like, well, of course they put a fucking Alexandrian in there. That's who's going to go. And that's just to swerve us. So like make us think it's an Alexandrian. But if it is, that will be the one. It'll disappoint me so much if they go that route. If they don't, they got to give it to us. They got to give us the payoff. As horrible as it is, like I said, this is a show about zombies. This is a show about bad people. Good people die.
My prediction is 90% against that. I'm saying that is minimal.
I hope you're right.
That's going to be my prediction. I have my own prediction, which I'm going to give you now.
He's not my most. I'm not going to give you my big one because then we have to get into things. So I don't want to spoil it for somebody.
Well, I guess that's true. Maybe we shouldn't get into it too much.
No, we shouldn't. We should wait because we could really jack it up for somebody because, based on the little bit I've read.
Okay, we're holding back. If you are fortunate enough to make it through our podcast and get to this point and you want to know, you have got our Twitter accounts. Private message us, and we'll give you our personal picks for who we think will be taken out at the beginning of episode 1, season 7 of The Walking Dead. You heard it right here. You can get a hold of me at voodoo_57 on Twitter, or you can go to Speedy_G33 and message him, and we'll give you our opinions.
Yeah, because I think it's not fair. Just a little bit. I've read too much. I've talked too much to people. The little bit of comics combined with everything. I don't want to ruin the show. And that's why I almost wish that I didn't know anything. Like, I didn't know who the hell Negan was. Imagine the ending would have been okay for me probably if I didn't know who Negan was. Because like I said, it was a build-up. And I needed my payoff. where if I
Yeah.
knew nothing, like say this was like Fear of the Walking Dead, where every episode they put out, you don't know where the hell they're going because there is no source material. You
Right.
know, we're not going to say whether it's better or as good or anything. I'm just saying the fact that you don't know. And when you're with it, dealing more with a show that you don't know, it is more shocking. So
Right.
it is.
I agree. I not totally. Nope. I'm down. I'm right there with you. That's definitely one of those. I can see where you're coming from moments. And let's face it, I was surprised. I was spoiled by the one person in the world that I thought could never spoil me like that. And again, I'm not going to say who that is. I think you know, and it just boggles my mind that it came out of the mouth of this person.
Man. Be careful. Like I don't know. Remember I told you that story that
why would you do that?
Not this season, but the season before. You know, I was checking because I have a younger daughter, and so I kind of monitor her Instagram a little bit to kind of make sure she's there.
Oh, that's
I'm
right.
spoiled by a 6th grade boy. You know that what's his name died? Sasha's what was Sasha's brother's name again?
Tyrese.
Tyrese. I'm spoiled that Tyrese is dead. I'm checking her Instagram.
That was the night of the show.
3 hours before the show, he must have out here in the West. This is what's crazy out here in the West, guys. Is some of us have people that have Dish get the East Coast feed, right? And they'll spoil it for the ones of us that are watching it on cable that get it, much later. And that's what it was. This kid must have the Dish and watched it on East Coast feed. I'm spoiled. The least place I can think of. Imagine. I'm checking, make sure my little girls, behaving, not putting starting some little junior high girl drama, and just posting fun little pictures, and like little boy posts a picture of Tyrese. Oh man, what a bummer!
Oh, seriously, that sucks. That really sucks. The one place you thought you could go safely, and you can't even do that anymore. You just can't, man. And people are starting to do it directly. I don't want to get into a rant about spoilers. I did that on my Facebook page. I put out a comment that was very popular. I just basically said that if you're an East Coast feed receiver or you live on the East Coast and you know what's going to happen in The Walking Dead, if you feel the need to spoil it, just remember to ball your hand up into a fist and punch yourself in the face as a slight reminder not to do it. And I'm telling you right now, on our show,
off the internet, man.
Yeah, I stay off the internet, but I'm saying people still do it even indirectly. If you spoil me, I will out you on my Twitter feed, on my Facebook page, on my Instagram. I will out you so you can have public shame and persecution and be turned into Walker Bear.
Some people get to say. Some people like to watch the world burn, or some men like to watch the world burn.
That's the Joker mentality. I totally get it. All right. Cool. All right. So real quickly, let me get your just final thoughts on Negan himself. We've got a few minutes left.
What did you think about him?
Yeah. Amazing. Was he not?
He was Negan.
Right in my wheelhouse.
And, like I told you, I was going to send you a couple of little panels from the comic books so you could laugh because they're hilarious because it's not spoiling. It's what you saw, but with the bad words in it. And
but we're going to get that. We're going to get that.
Maybe. He's a pretty vulgar son of a gun.
Rumor is that content will be on a DVD.
Job,
Yeah.
What's that? Rumors what?
I said the rumor is that it's going to be placed on the Blu-ray edition of season 6. So hopefully that's true. I'd like to see it.
It was the perfect casting. And because he's like a guy you don't want to like. You absolutely do not want to like because he is horrible. Like I saw him on Talking Dead, and he's all, I'm just kind of like Rick. If you'd have seen it from my point of view, like bullshit. You're not like Rick. Okay, yeah, Rick is a bit psychotic, and he's not normal either. But you're a lot more evil than Rick is. Even at Rick's worst. So don't even try it, Buster. Unless they write it differently. But no, he's a bad dude. And
he's right in my wheelhouse.
He's a charismatic leader. And I was talking, I haven't read this on comics, so I'm curious where the saviors come from. Like I was telling my daughters, we watched, my older daughters, like, what did he recruit a bunch of guys out of a prison? Because these are some bad dudes. You know what I mean? They're already bad dudes. So where do you get a collection of this many really bad dudes?
I think we're going to find out. He's right in my wheelhouse of villains because as I've said that on the show a million times, and I'll say it a million more. If there's a drinking game out there, please take a shot. because I love the anti-hero. He is the quintessential. You kind of want to like him, but you just know that he's too damn evil to like, and you really shouldn't. I do. He's got charisma out the wazoo. I didn't feel that way about the governor. When I saw the governor, he was just a dick and pure evil. This guy, I kind of want to like. I really do. I kind of want to like him.
He's still a dick, but he's a charismatic dick.
Exactly. So he's definitely going to grow on me very quickly, man. I could see myself strutting wearing property of Negan shirt somewhere.
I mean, look at the casting, man. This, it's an amazing choice. You know, he's going to do this.
Yep.
He's going to do it justice. There's no doubt about it. Yeah.
That's for sure.
Bravo.
Very cool. All right, we're winding things down here. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Real Comics Podcast. Before we let you go, what do you see in our future there, Speedy G33?
Well, we're going to finish probably our review of Daredevil. Daredevil kind of got pushed back. Batman Superman was just too big of a story, and Walking Dead, another big story. So unless something major breaks this week between now and Wednesday, I think we will wrap up our Daredevil. Or at least maybe, what did we do, 3 episodes, maybe 3 more?
We can do 3 more, or we can do the whole thing. It's getting kind of to that point.
Yeah.
There's a few more I still need to watch.
I haven't watched it all either, and that's not a knock on the show. People say, "Oh, it must not be that good." No, man.
I've been busy.
I watch so many shows, and like I said, there's a lot going on. I also try to prioritize things that might get spoiled for me.
Yep.
So I put up so Walking Dead was something that it's like I had to prioritize versus maybe Daredevil. There's not a lot of chatter about it, at least to the point of spoiling it, unless you actually go seek it out.
Right. I agree. So definitely probably going to do that for sure. On my end, I do want to spit out a couple things. I'm hoping to go and see Hardcore Henry and get my own personal. I'll probably just put out a reel shot. We're not going to break it down or have a huge review, but I will give you, if I can survive the movie, I'm not going to lie here. I have issues sometimes with really heavy handheld camera action. This whole thing is handheld, so if I can survive this film, I'll put out a real shot and give you my take on it, as well as a couple of other movies down the road, just general stuff.
I'm into DC big time now. Batman, Superman, really, I want more DC. So if you have Netflix, good chance they just put 3 of their animated movies on there that are really good movies and are timely in the fact that they have some connections to what the Justice League could be, what's going on Flash, a little bit of the Batman Superman movie, and they're great. DC Animation does really good work. They're drawn wonderful. I mean, the voice cast, when you start naming these names, you'll be like, wow, these people do voice for that. There's the Flash one right now. It's called Justice League Flashpoint. Paradox. It's a little bit about Flash, kind of like the show. He's doing some time traveling to fight Reverse Flash, and you see some alternate universes. You also have one that's called Justice League War, which kind of shows you how the Justice League got together to fight Darkseid, which can be a possible what's going to happen in the movies. And then there's a great Batman one called Son of Batman. It's a little bit about Batman's son and that whole relationship. Got Netflix. Those are 3 great introductions into DC animation. Like I said, I'm rewatching them now. I need to just break down and buy all this stuff.
Yeah, very cool. Maybe, you know what? Maybe we could have a DC animation show. If I check those out, we should probably, we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, but maybe we should do one. Yeah,
at least get those 3. I'm looking. I was at Walmart today when I got my Star Wars, and they have a lot of Walmart likes to put together 2 movies together in one package. And they had a Batman Superman section because of the movie, and they had a lot of the DC animation 2 movies in one for $7. And I walked away. I told my daughter, I go, no, I don't need to. We need to get out of here before I spend money I don't need to be spending.
Sounds like a plan. All right, there you have it, guys. There's some movies recommendations there from Speedy G. Check these out. I think I'm going to. That's for sure. As we wrap things up here, we definitely want to say good night. Speedy G, say good night.
Good night, and don't forget, coming to a screen near you,
Speedy Gonzalez movie. Epa, epa, arriba. Okay, yeah, I know. I don't know if we should be doing that or not. Anyway, all right, everybody. I'm your host, Voodoo57, saying good night. And as always, be your own hero. We will see you next week. Good night, everybody.
Until next week. Bye.
Night.